All right, here we go. Class tuning May 6. Class tuning May 6. These changes came out 15 minutes ago. Start off with all the general changes, PvE and PvP so far. Sailing, Pact of Sailing now stores 25% of all shadow damage dealt into Blood Beast was 50. So this gets a damage nerf, it looks like. Whatever this is, or a heal nerf. I don't even know what this does, honestly. Kind of funny. Raise the Abomination, melee attack. So they buffed A-Bomb. Okay. They buffed A-Bomb and they buffed your Mage Frostbolt for DK. The Mage Frostbolt that you summon when you, or the Mage that you summon when you APOC or whatever. Demon Hunter got a 4% damage buff? Oh my god. I wonder what they're going to do in PvP for that, because Demon Hunter, I feel like, already does pretty solid damage. You know, we saw that in some of the tournaments on EU. We saw that in some of the cups for EU where they played Ellie with Demon Hunter. Saw a couple of Boomy DHs, but mainly Ellie with Demon Hunter. And I feel like Demon Hunter is already a class where they're like really close to being solid. And part of that feels like Fury is stopping that, because Fury also deletes Demon Hunters, but also the Mage Rogue meta that we had for a while. But they're actually buffing DH 4% overall damage. That's crazy. Guardian got a 5% buff, little tank buff. Guys, we just talked about how we're going to push rank 1 in Shuffle as Guardian. We're going to get rank 1 in Shuffle as Guardian Druid. Rank 1 in Shuffle right now for Guardian is 1700. 5% buff to our main spec, our new main. All ability and auto attack damage increase does not apply to PvP. Augmentation got the same thing, does not apply to PvP. Frostmage. Okay, so they're buffing Spellslinger, but nobody ever plays Spellslinger. Maybe they'll play it now. I feel like Frostfire is too good with like the Comet Storm Meteor and stuff. Rep Paladin. Blade of Justice damage increased by 80% does not apply to PvP. That's a crazy buff for PvE, because Blade has been a filler spell for a while and they're giving it an 80% buff. Fine Arbiter damage increase. So Ret got PvE buffs. Okay. Holy Priest got a PvE buff. Blade Storm damage increased by 30% does not apply to PvP. Okay, so these are all PvE buffs at the end. So the last bit of it is all PvE. None of them go into PvP at all. Only some of these do. So the main takeaway from this is DK got a slight damage buff with A-Bomb and their Frostbolt from their Magus. But Havoc is the big winner for the overall buffs. Havoc got a 4% damage buff. All right, cool. I mean, Demon Hunter is already solid. So if you're a Demon Hunter player, you can just rejoice right there. 4% damage. It adds up. It does add up. Here we go. PvP. The Druid's mana is nerfed by 75% in PvP. I didn't even know that it was this high already nerfed. So the Druid mana was already nerfed by 70% in PvP, and now it's a 75. So looks like they're nerfing Druid mana again, which makes sense. I think Druids right now, they already are, they're really, really insane. They're arguably the best healer, and they're just giving them another small mana nerf to hopefully kind of tune them down that way. I definitely expected an Ancient of Lore nerf, something regarding Ancient of Lore, whether it's you can't use Nature's Swiftness with it anymore, whether you have a higher cooldown, whether it's a shorter buff, whether it's a smaller, it's a healing nerf with Blossom Burst. I figured they would do something like that, but it looks like they're just going to go with mana instead. So mana nerf instead. Preservation got some buffs. Look at that. Wow. So Evoker got a Time of Need unnerf. Time of Need was nerfed last expansion, I believe, or maybe it was the start of this expansion, but they did nerf Time of Need. I think it was the start of this expansion when they were really good. And they nerfed Time of Need by 25%. Now it's unnerfed. Wow. They also unnerfed the mana regen from Energy Lube. Okay. And then buffed Verdant. I mean, so Preservation gets some pretty decent buffs here, I would say. More mana regen, but mainly Time of Need and Verdant Embrace being buffed is pretty crazy for them. So maybe we'll see more Evoker. The Time of Need buff definitely helps them with how crazy Burst is right now and how crazy, you know, the Mage meta is, especially with Rogues. Mainly, I wouldn't even say the Mage meta, but Evokers into melee, like Mage with a melee, always have a hard time. And Time of Need is something that's really, really good into those type of comps. So this is a massive buff, I feel like, for them. More mana regen and Verdant Embrace as well. So, all right. Evoker got some nice stuff. Mistweaver. Look at that. We're buffing healers back to back. Okay, so they buffed Mistweaver mana a little bit. They buffed Feather Feet. Okay, so Feather Feet is you can cast while moving. You can now cast while moving during Lighter Than Air, and its duration is increased. Okay. So Lighter Than Air is the extra jump that you get. You get a jump, like a second jump, a charge forward after you roll within 6 seconds, but now 12 with this talent. You have an extra, like a double jump almost, where you charge forward. So they're buffing lighter than air with the talent to 12 seconds. But Feather Feet just gives Monk, when they have lighter than air, so after the Monk presses roll or Chi Torpedo, they get lighter than air, which if you play the talent, you can cast while moving. So I wonder if that's going to be a thing people play. Maybe in Battlegrounds you'll play that for sure. I feel like you probably already do, but in Arena, I don't know if you'll play that. Maybe you will. Maybe that helps for some creativity with Monk. I highly doubt it though. I doubt it. Maybe in BGs you'll play it, but in Arena I'm not sure. All right, Jade Statue Serpent Healing. Oh my god. Okay, so this is a massive buff. Jade Serpent Statue Soothing Mist Healing is increased by 60% in its duration to 14 in PvP combat. Was 8. So Statue is huge for Monk, because not only do you get a ton of passive healing, but you also get a healing increase on your enveloping and your renewing because of the Peaceful Mending talent, which is right here. There's a Peaceful Mending. A 60% buff is crazy, on top of the fact that they're giving them more duration as well. So they're getting a higher duration on the soothing from the statue, which a lot of the time, especially people that have less experience on Monk, it's really hard. And you're getting CC'd too, which you have to count for. So you're getting CC'd, or you have less experience with re-procking the Soothing Mist statue, or the Soothing Mist from your statue. Your mist from the statue always falls off. That is a crazy buff, dude. I feel like this helps Monk a lot, personally. I think that helps Monk a lot, because Monk is a class that I feel like if they had a little bit more passive healing, it would help prevent them from getting into these situations where they just fall behind and they can never recover. They fall behind, they run out of CDs, they fall behind and start having to spam cast every time, every global, and then they lose. That's kind of how Monk always ends up feeling. So I feel like this statue buff is massive for them with just sustain healing. Because not only are you getting more statue healing, but the duration is going to help for when you get CC'd. And if you have renewing and enveloping up on your target and you're getting CC'd, you're going to have statue for the entire time. 14 seconds is a crazy, crazy change. Dude, Monk might be a lot better. Vivify healing increased by 20%. So we're getting a Vivify buff as well. I mean, I feel like Monk is going to be a lot better. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. That always bites me. That always bites me in the butt for sure. Monk is definitely going to be better. How much better? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no clue. But it will be better. It will be better for sure. For sure. Good throughput? Yeah, I mean, these are two massive buffs for them. The statue buff is by far the biggest deal. The mana buff is okay. I don't really think they have too much of an issue with mana. I think the biggest issue personally is their lack of sustain. It feels like their burst healing is okay. It feels like they can trade cooldowns kind of well, but their sustain healing is low. And any sort of micro CC on them is really, really rough. So I think these buffs are crazy, man. I think these buffs are crazy. 20% to Vivify too is a lot. Like, how much does Vivify do right now? I think it already does a good amount. I'm getting 2.7 million Vivifies on my Monk. My average is 1.9 million. My highest Vivify is a 3.6. This is getting a 20% buff. And you got to remember, Vivify has a... you have an instant Vivify on Monk as well. So every 10 seconds, you get an instant Vivify. And it's a 20% buffed Vivify as well. Wow, I mean, I feel like Monk's definitely going to be better. That's crazy. I think this is going to help Monk a lot. I still don't. What's funny, though, is how crazy these buffs are. Even with how crazy these buffs are, I don't think Monk is going to be the top tier, like, S+ unbeatable healer, which is really funny to think about, because I think these buffs are crazy. Like, this is massive. These two changes right here, especially the statue. But I definitely think we'll see more Monk. That's exciting, man. Shaman. Electrocute damage increased by 75%. So, they already buffed Electrocute earlier this expansion by 100%, and it didn't do anything. But now it's going to get a 75% buff. So let's log over on a Shaman and see how much that's going to do. Let's see how much it does. I think this is interesting because one thing that I feel like one thing that I felt like made Shaman really fun to play and also helped it be really good is Electrocute. I thought Electrocute was a really cool thing they added in Legion. And although I think it's easy to cross the line where it's too OP to spam Purge on a Shaman and have Electrocute, I think it is a mechanic that helps them feel more fun and helps them have their place in the meta where they actually can just go offensive like that with Purges and create a lot of pressure and get a lot of momentum. So I think an Electrocute buff is actually really cool to see. I don't know how much it's going to do. Person. So it ticks for 95k right now. 95k tick. So they're buffing it 75%. So 95 to 100. Electrocute next patch is going to tick for about 170k or so. Give or take, depending on different damage reduction and versatility. I mean, I don't think that's good at all, but I think it's okay. It's actually not bad. It's definitely not bad. Like if you play Greater Purge, it does the same damage, obviously. But if you play Greater Purge and you're just purging on cooldown, every purge you do is going to do around 450, 500k, which is not bad at all. Like, that's just decent pressure that you're adding. If you play regular Purge and you're actually spamming it, maybe it's okay. I mean, it does 170k DPS next patch, so maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. It's hard to say because it's only going to be good against certain healers, though. Actually, no, it'll be good against everything. It'll be good against every healer. It'll be useful against every healer except for Pally, basically, because Pally just doesn't have buffs. Priest has buffs, Dispriest has buffs. Priest, both specs of Priest, Shaman, Druid, Evoker, Monk. Okay. So Pally, it won't do anything. It won't do anything against Pally, but maybe there is definitely a chance that other stuff it'll help a lot. Cool. I mean, that's exciting for me, honestly. That's exciting for me, honestly. I don't even play Shaman anymore, but maybe I'll go back to playing twos and like perching people down, dude. That could be fun. That could be fun. All right. So let's shoot damage 75%. Torrent's bonus to Riptide initial heal is now 100% effective in PvP, was reduced by 33%. So Torrent is a 20% buff to Riptide, a 20% buff to the initial heal of Riptide, and that was nerfed by 33%. So you're going to get 7% more Riptide healing with this. Okay. Dude, they're doing crazy buffs to Shaman. What the heck? So Torrent's bonus to Riptide's initial heal is now 100% effective, was reduced by 33%. So this means that Riptide is getting a 7% buff, basically. You're basically getting a 6%, 7% buff to Riptide. Healing Tide Totem is going to get 75% more health. How much health does Healing Tide have right now? Healing Tide has 1.3 in combat. 1.3 million. Wow. So Healing Tide is going to have a lot more HP. A lot more HP. So 2 mil plus for Healing Tide. Okay. So it's going to be harder to kill Tide. That's something that we've seen a lot more, especially the last few expansions, the last, 2 or 3 expansions now with weak auras and stuff being a lot more prevalent, a lot more common, where totem stomping has gotten pretty crazy. You have players that, it's really easy. You get the Mez weak aura pack, somebody presses Healing Tide, pops up on their screen within half a second, it makes a sound, they kill it immediately. So I do think this helps. Shaman design feels really weird. It almost feels like, what's really funny about this, the whole add-on debate is, for certain classes, it does feel like add-ons just counter them. And Shaman feels like that. It feels like Shamans are countered by weak auras. Because you just have weak auras that alert you every single time they press their healing totems. And it makes it infinitely more difficult to play the class. So Healing Tide gets killed often. They're buffing the health by 75%. They're buffing Shaman mana, which is kind of surprising. I feel like Shaman mana is not bad right now. But I also don't really play Shaman too much anymore. At all. And you also don't see Shamans in 3s. But from what I've heard, From what I've heard, whenever you play with shamans and 3s, especially higher rating, they just go and then you lose. So, okay. I mean, slight shaman buff, slight mana buff to shaman, buff to healing tide, 6% or so buff to riptide, which is crazy, and then electrocute damage. So it feels like these changes are kind of just... I'm really happy with all of these changes for healers. I feel like Evoker got some good buffs. I feel like Monk got some good buffs. Shaman, I feel like, got some solid buffs as well. I think this is definitely going to help shake up the meta a little bit for healers. Druid got a slight mana nerf. I think they're still going to be really good, but obviously this puts more emphasis on Druids having to be careful with mana. We're definitely going to see a shake up in the meta, I would hope. I would hope to see that. That would be really nice to see, where it's not just Druid, and then if it's not Druid, it's a Holy Priest. So seeing more healers would be nice. We buffed the less represented healers right here. Slight nerf to the best healer. Okay. Paladin. Dude, that's so fun. I can't help but go all the way down when I look at changes. They actually buffed Denounce. Am I in charge of buffs? Am I in charge of the game? I talked about Denounce like 3 days ago, and I was saying that I miss when Pally did damage, and I miss when Denounce actually pumped. And they buffed Denounce by 100%. How hard does Denounce hit right now? Let's check. Let's check it right now. How hard do you hit with Denounce? Let's see. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go. So Denounce on a training dummy did 630,000. Okay, not bad. So in PvP, it does what? Like 540? Because you got to count verse. You got to count for verse. So in PvP, it does what? Like 550 or so? 500k or so? Bro, Denounce is just going to hit for 1 million damage? I mean, that's pretty crazy. Is that not crazy? Because you also have this talent too. So this talent here, where is it? Shining Righteousness. How much does that do in PvP now? Because Shining Righteousness used to hit really hard in PvP when they first reworked Pally and gave them Denounce. The Shining Righteousness right now, it's for an extra 160. I mean, I don't know, man. If you're hitting Denounce, you're doing 1 million plus. 1 mil plus every Denounce is kind of crazy. This is no wings too. Because you got to remember, you can press it with wings too. And all your modifiers, like your trinket buff and stuff. You get a trinket proc, you get wings. You could just launch out Denounces on people with a Pally for like 1.6 mil no crits, man. 1.5, 1.6 mil non-crit. I mean, maybe Pally starts blasting? I don't know. Now, the problem is, it is a PvP talent, so you actually have to spec into it, which is rough. But thankfully for Paladin players... And this is definitely going to be one of those backhanded compliments. You know, one of those things where I'm throwing a little bit of shade. I'm sorry. But thankfully for all the Paladin players, you don't have to be upset because Paladin honor talents are just terrible. So there's really not much that you need to do in terms of decision making for Paladin PvP talents because they're just all terrible. Like there's like 3 or 4 good ones. So that's good for you. There's less thinking. We like that. Rep Paladin, here we go. What did they do? What did they do? Luminescence now increases Lightbearer's healing by up to 150%, was 200. Luminescence and Lightbearer is the massive HPS that you get on Paladin, where all the healing put into you is healing other people. So Paladin, especially with the rest of Druid, because they have Hots up all the time, they're just passively healing their team, and this is getting a pretty big nerf, I would say. This is always your top healing on Paladin for the most part, so pretty massive change there, I'd say, in terms of their HPS. Blessing of Sanctuary's cooldown is increased to 60 seconds. Was 45. This is a massive change. I think the Luminescence change is kind of okay. It's a small healing nerf for sure, but Sank is now a 1 minute cooldown. I feel like that's a massive nerf, dude. It's all relative, right? So this is essentially a 33% nerf to Sank. That's crazy. 1 minute CD. It won't change anything. They don't press it in solo shuffle. That is true. I've encountered many rank 1 rep paladins in shuffle that just don't press Sank ever. That is very true. But if you play 3s or you're playing 3s and stuff, or you are a paladin that does press it, that's a lot. Gleaming Rays now increases Holy Power spender damage by 10% in PvP combat, was 15. What is that? What is Gleaming Rays? Oh, it's the passive. While Dawnlight's active. Okay, so... Oh, wow. Okay, so Paladin is getting less... They're getting less Templars damage. They're getting less Templars damage during their dawn light burst windows. Okay. So they actually did get a slight damage nerf with their cooldowns to Templars, but they got a utility and HPS nerf. Wow. I mean, Red Paladin was about to take over, man. People were playing this left and right in threes, in shuffle. I was queuing into Rets every single day. I was, we watched the AWC where were watching every team play Ret Warrior Mirrors on NA, and they just instantly get a nice little smack, dude. Nice little smack. Shaman will be better, yeah. I think Shaman, Evoker, and Monk will all be better. They got some solid buffs. I mean, the Blessing of Sanct change is crazy, man. I feel like this is something that always is a problem with Ret, where every time they end up being really good, it feels like they're just this brick wall. And I think Sanct is part of that. And I don't know how else you would even change this besides just nerfing the cooldown. But that's what they did. They just nerfed the CD of it by 15 seconds. So 60-second cooldown to Sanct. All right, so Ret gets a nerf. They buffed Holy Pally, though. Denounce, 100% buff. I feel like people are going to crank with Denounce, man. I feel like people are going to crank with Denounce. I mean, it already hits for 550k or so. This is going to hit for $1 million plus on Tuesday. And that's not counting any damage modifiers either. Not counting wings, not counting any buffs. Pally might be fun again. Pally might be fun to play again. Maybe. Holy Priest. Holy Priest gets another mana nerf. A 55% mana reduction in PvP was 50. So it looks like for Holy Priest and Druid, because they do have the best mana, I would say, out of all the healers, on top of just having really good HPS and all these other tools. So it looks like they're just nerfing their mana, which I feel like is not bad. I feel like that helps keep the game faster too. I actually don't mind this change. I definitely want to see how it's going to be first. It's always nice to see actual changes to healing and stuff, but you have Holy Priest that heals for 10 minutes. You have Druid that heals for 10 minutes, and they're getting a mana nerf. So I actually don't mind this. Okay. Affliction Warlock specifically, not Destro, not Demo. Not surprised that we didn't see Demo because they keep getting buffed, but kind of surprised we don't see Destro buffs at all. Even if it's just like an Immolate or something. Affliction buff. So Rampant Afflictions now decreases the damage of Unstable Affliction by 45%, was 60. Okay, so more UA damage. And then Unstable Affliction backlash damage increased by 20%. So UA Dispel right now hits for what? It already hits for like what, 3 million or so? I mean, it's just going to make it more punishing for dispelling UA. I think Destro's really OP right now. It just gets owned by Fury Warrior. Oh, does nobody play Rampant Afflictions? Okay. So basically they're just getting a 20% backlash buff. Here we go. This is the last bit of changes. I mean, I was already kind of expecting this, because I'm not going to lie, this Wrecking Throw garbage was ridiculous. The fact that nobody was playing this on Warrior is so hilarious to me, because it was just so broken into multiple meta specs right now. Mage in particular, it's the same cooldown when you play the talent as Ice Barrier, and it deletes it instantly. But for some reason, nobody was playing it. I feel like that's super valuable. So this is actually getting nerfed. So why was it bugged? Was it just doing no damage? It's doing nothing? Okay, well, that explains why nobody was playing it. There you go. Yeah, it one-taps Dark Pact, Light Cocoon, every shield. So this is a crazy change to see. I like that. Arms Warrior got a 20%. We saw this earlier. Lauren spoiled us. Arms Warrior is getting a 20% buff to execute. I've already seen Arms Warriors hit like 3 million executes, and obviously it's not Fury level. Like, I've seen Fury hit 5 million executes total. So, I mean, 20%, bro. I mean, that's a lot of damage. Show No Mercy increases the execute chance. Oh, here we go. So they offset this, right? Show No Mercy now increases the crit chance and damage of execute by 5% per stack. Was 15. Okay, so they offset it. So your executes are going to be better without the buff, and then still do a lot with the buff. Okay. And they're getting less crit chance. Okay, this is not as crazy. Okay, we can take it back. Everyone calm down, breathe. Just breathe. Everyone breathe. It's okay. So this is an offset right here. So they got 20%. So basically they're just going to have better execute damage and not have as many one-shots. Not have as many one-tap executes, but they'll have better execute damage overall. So a higher average. Okay. That's pretty cool, I guess. Fury. Oh my god. I already know it's going to be nerfs. I already know it's going to be nerfs. And it's just making me happy. I could cry right now. It's making me happy. Slaughterhouse PvP talent duration decreased to 12 seconds was 20. I can't believe their buff was 20 seconds long. That is insane. Why did I not think it was that long? So Slaughterhouse is going back to a 12-second duration instead of 20. So they're actually getting a huge nerf to their Mortal Strike. I think this is a massive nerf to their MS effect. 12 seconds, dude. So they're not just gonna have that permanent MS the entire game of getting owned. This is a huge nerf. This right here is gonna make healing against Fury Warriors so much better because they're still gonna have a lot of damage, but they're not gonna have the what feels like permanent 30% MS. Show No Mercy now increased the crit strike chance and damage effect. Oh, so they got the same change. So Show No Mercy got the same change for arms and fury. Okay. Strength of the Mountain increases the damage of Bloodthirst and Rampage by 25% was 37. So they lost Bloodthirst and Rampage damage if you play the Mountain Thane, and then they lost Slaughterhouse duration. I mean, I feel like it's always hard with changes. It's always hard, I feel like, as a player to try and think about what you would change in the game without being really biased and without going overboard. And I feel like all of these changes are pretty good. I would much rather see Arms Warrior than Fury. I feel like Fury is always over the top whenever we see it. We got a nerf to Fury MS. They're still going to do really good damage, still high DPS. But we have a nerf to their Mortal Strike, so they're a lot easier to deal with. We saw a nerf to their Wrecking Throw. We get a slight buff to UA lock with the backlash and people being able to spam dispel their dots. We get a slight mana nerf to Druid and Holy Priest, which are the best healers that also have arguably the best mana. We get a damage buff for Pally on Denounce, so maybe they can cast Denounce more and have that be more fun. We get a nerf to Ret Utility. We get... I didn't even read this. Oh my god, I skipped over this one. So Enhanced Shaman gets a healing bonus from Improved Maelstrom. Okay, so we get a slight healing bonus for Enhanced Shaman. We get slight buffs to Rest of Shaman, slightly more Riptide healing, a little bit more mana, Healing Tide health. Electrocute gets buffed. The Electrocute damage still seems a bit underwhelming, but there is a chance that it feels decent to play, and it helps the class be more fun as well, because it is going to tick for about 100 and... It's going to do about 450k or so per purge if you let the full debuff play out. So, get some Shaman buffs, less represented healer. We get Monk buffs as well, which is another healer that's less represented. Vivify is going to help a lot, and I think this buff right here with the statue is huge for Monk. I think this is a massive buff to Monk. And what's funny is I don't even think they're going to be the best healer still. And this buff is crazy. So Mistweaver gets a buff. We get a nice buff to Preservation. I think Time of Need being buffed again is nice. Being unnerved, so being buffed again is nice because they do struggle against these setup comps, these CC comps where they can swap around a lot and burst people down. You know, primarily Rogue Mage, Feral Mage. So this helps a lot into those matchups, but it's going to be good regardless. They get energy regen. They have a nice buff to their Verdant Embrace healing. And then as we go higher, I think the takeaway from the changes above that for the PvE changes was Demon Hunter got a 4% buff as well. So another spec that is less represented, but I feel like Demon Hunter already is pretty solid. And I think the Mage Rogue meta, the Mage Feral meta on top of the Ret Warrior comps make it hard for Demon Hunter to do well. And we saw Ret get nerfed, we saw Fury get nerfed. And they're getting a 4% damage buff. Demon Hunter already does pretty decent damage. I think they pump right now. And they're getting 4%. 4%. Which doesn't seem like much. But we have to remember that all of these things add up. Especially when you have DPS classes that already have a lot of damage. Or have really high damage during specific windows with their cooldowns. So this is crazy. H1, ADBC Cup 2. Well, yeah, I'm saying I think Demon Hunter is solid. I think Demon Hunter is really solid. So I think these changes are good, man. I think these are really good changes. We saw some healer balance across the board, which is nice to see. We see 2 mana nerfs to the best 2 healers. We see a mana nerf to the best 2 healers. We see buffs to Shaman, Monk, and Evoker, which are less represented right now. And a buff to Pally damage with Denounce, which I think could potentially be really, really good for them. We just tested Denounce. It already hits for about 550k or so in PvP. This is going to be doubled. you're going to be able to launch 1 million plus denounces. No modifiers yet. Just alone, no modifiers, 1 million plus. So, I mean, I think these changes are really good. I think this is a solid list of changes, and I'm excited, man.